So the Aliens Fireteam character class walkthrough trailer has just dropped, courtesy of IGN, and we're gonna check it out, see what it's all about, see how it looks. I'm pretty excited for this game. I had one little critique of it, one little thing that kind of has me worried about it. If you want to know what that is, I'll put a link right up here somewhere, one of these sides of the camera. There'll be a link you can click and go check out that video. If you enjoy content like this, check out some other content. If you enjoy that, consider subscribing to the channel. Join the Finfolk Legion. I also stream on Twitch and on Facebook at Finfolk Gaming on both of those platforms. So yeah, let's just jump into this trailer. All right, let's see what these classes have to offer.
Hey everybody, Ryan McCaffrey with IGN, back for more with Aliens Fireteam. It is our IGN first game, IGN's cover story, as it were, for the month of March. We're covering it all month long. We had a 25-minute gameplay video that went up already. You may have seen that. Now we are going to dig into a couple of the character classes that you have available to you. And I'm joined by Chris Matz, the lead
Technician is the one that I'm really interested in.
Chris,
that'll probably be the one that I'll play if I get this game whenever it releases.
So, Chris, you're going to walk us through a couple of the character classes. You've got several in the game. Which two are we taking a look at today?
We're going to be looking at the Gunner and the Technician today.
Brilliant. Well, let's start with the Gunner. That's who I got to play,
okay,
so you got to see that in action a bit in that 25-minute gameplay video. So what do players need to know, first and foremost, about the Gunner before we get into kind of the nitty-gritty details of the Gunner's skills and abilities?
Sure. So the Gunner is kind of the classic Colonial Marine that everybody thinks of. Just tons of firepower.
Yeah, he's your heavy. He's your heavy class.
A nice, strong assault rifle and some close quarter weapons as well.
Look at all the Xenos, man.
A lot of situations. And they've got a grenade. They've got their overclock. They're going to do all sorts of cool stuff in the fight.
And how can a big thing with the game here is
that you can
level
ability
things up over time. It's part of the.
I guess the overclock ability is going to be like a overcharge on your weapons. Maybe the weapons do more damage, or they shoot.
Are some sort of specific examples there?
More before they need to be reloaded or overheat, I guess.
Really lets
well, no, he doesn't even have the heavy. He has a shotgun and a assault rifle. So he's not the light machine gun class, I guess.
You can improve your overclock ability, which makes it so everybody on your team can shoot faster, basically.
Okay, yeah, the overclock is to shoot faster.
And then you've also got your grenade, which starts as a default, handheld grenade, and you throw it and it explodes. There's a couple of different upgrades for the grenade specifically that let you drastically change how that ability in specific works. One, the incendiary burst changes it so that you just release it right in front of you and basically big blast of fire right in front of the character. Or you can use your remote detonator version where you toss the grenade, it sticks in a spot, and then you can push the button again to detonate it when you want to. So you can either get a more immediate in-my-face ability or take something that allows you to have a little more strategic planning with that remote detonator.
I don't know if we can, if there's anything we can kind of drill into here on the loadout screen. There we go. So let's see some of these perks.
Yeah,
if you want to walk through these, that'd be great.
Sure. So you've got a whole bunch of different perks here. You can see the different colors right now. Some of these are universal perks that we're calling them, where they can be used by any kit. So once you've unlocked them on, say, the Gunner, you can take that perk over to your Technician and be able to level up all the kits that way and get a little bit of cross-kit gameplay.
Targets acquire smart link, Gunner.
So I've got rapid deployment here. It can go to either of my abilities and basically reduce the cooldown so I can use that more often. And then, like I mentioned, I've got remote detonator or incendiary burst. I can slot that on my grenade, and that'll actually change my ability out in game. So the base grenade will be replaced with
that
burst version. And,
slot menu is fairly unique. I don't know if I've seen anything quite like that.
Improve your gun.
If I have, it's not coming to me right in the moment right now. I can't think of a game I've seen something quite like that.
A bunch of different stuff that you're going to get to change.
This grid is interesting. It's almost kind of like Tetris-style old school Diablo interface inventory, I should say. Is it so? Are you kind of limited by? It looks like some of these skills.
Kind of reminds me of Resident Evil 2, like the old Resident Evil games.
So we got a variety of sizes.
You're trying to fit things, in your backpack. You're trying to. Sometimes you can kind of reorient objects to make everything fit. Kind of reminds me of that.
So when you start, you have a smaller amount of space on any given kit to be able to slot things in. As you rank up the kit, you get more space, you get more perks, and you get more options to change the way you play that character.
Awesome. Well, is there anything else in the gunner we should check out before we move on to the technician here?
I guess, you know...
There is one thing I want to say really quick, and there's still a little bit left on this video, so hopefully I'm wrong, but it seems like the way he was talking about the class abilities, it seems like there's only going to be 2 abilities. Now, you may get stuff to modify those abilities, like he was saying, the types of grenades you're going to throw, or things like that. But I don't know if you're going to actually have like technically two more than 2 types of abilities, which would be kind of disappointing if that ends up being what it is. But that's just a prediction that I have right now. So we'll finish out the trailer, see if they mention anything else about it. But yeah, if that is the case, that's not. That's going to be a little disappointing, because I would want each class to have multiple abilities that I could choose what I wanted, like have 5 abilities per class or 6 abilities per class, but you can only use 2 at a time. So you have to pick which one you want to use for the mission or whatever. But we'll see what they say.
One of the other things that's really important about the kits in our game is they also determine what types of weapons you're allowed to bring. For example, here the gunner has a rifle slot and a CQW slot, or close quarter weapons. And inside of that, you've got a whole bunch of different attachments you can do, change your guns themselves, and you'll be able to swap out that Kramer that I had there for, like, say, the M41A2 pulse rifle, get that classic rifle in here. Nice. And change out your CQW, change out for shotguns or different types of submachine guns. So each kit has those options in there. Not every kit uses the same slots. There's 4 different core types of guns. There's rifles, CQWs, handguns, and heavy weapons.
Basically, in layman's terms, what he's saying here is each class is going to be limited to 2 types of guns. So basically, if you play a certain kind of class, there's only going to be certain kind of guns you can choose from. They're going to have multiple guns of that gun class in there. But if you pick, for example, like the gunner, I don't know if the gunner may not have access to a sniper, for example. Or, the gunner may not have access to the same guns that the technician has access to. So it's not only the fact of, like, you're picking a class for the abilities, but you're also picking a class. When you pick that class, you got to think about what guns are you going to even be, what class or types of guns will you even be able to use with that class. Because you could potentially have to pick a class, if you're playing with other people and the last class left to pick, you may pick that class and it may not allow you to use the types of guns that you want to use. So, I mean, that's obviously from a design standpoint for the team and balancing issues, trying to get how to balance out something and making sure that no one can have, the best gun in the game and everyone have that gun, because then that would make it too easy. So in a sense, it makes sense from a design standpoint to do that, but at the same time, it does kind of limit player choice a little bit. But
let's move on to the technician then and see what's available over there.
So over on the technician, our technician is our turret guy. He's setting up all of the control spaces that you want to have. So you've got your permanent
shotgun
turret placement ability where you can place that down.
I'm pretty sure he can get a rifle too, though.
You need to when it blows up.
Unless I completely
until you can make another one.
Saw wrong on that last video.
That's a really big part of the technician's gameplay. And then he's also got charge coils where you've got 3 stacks of that you can basically have out at any given time. So you can throw multiples of these ones out, and each one of them comes back up for you. And they're like an electric dart that impales into the ground and releases a whole field of electricity all around it, and enemies that get in there get slowed down, aren't as effective at combat. So comboing these together, where you can say, I'm going to set my turret up here, then I'm going to throw my coils out ahead and get everybody stuck in that area while the turret mows them down, is a great vibe. Yeah,
I got to see this in action. Matt was playing as the technician during our 25-minute gameplay video that's on IGN now, and yeah, it was the turrets just came in such handy that it seems like you'll certainly want to have a technician as one of your 3 players. And I guess that does bring me up to another quick question, general question. Can you have more than one of a class? Do you all have to pick a separate class?
They definitely go after that turret as soon as you spawn it. The enemies are programmed to target that turret.
Certainly our goal is to make it so that you don't want to, but it's definitely an option.
Because it does push out so much extra damage.
You definitely want to have technician. Well, we have people saying that about
you want
all
to
of our
protect it
kits,
after you get it
and
out.
You don't have that many slots.
So see, they're using a pistol
pick
and
the
a
three
shotgun.
that you think are going to work well together. Make sure your builds synchronize well.
An auto
enough to
pistol,
to
but it's still a
maximize
pistol.
Their efficiency working with
So
each
that's the
other,
thing.
basically.
Can you even get an
And,
SMG if you use a
go down
technician?
some,
Can you get an assault
All right,
rifle?
so let's see some of
I
these,
don't think you
these,
can.
technician perks that you've brought up here.
Right. So again, some of those same style. I'm
You're
just
kind
modifying my
of
guns,
stuck
making my guns
with
better. They're
the
all
guns,
different for each of the
gun
different
types
kits.
they allow you to use.
And then we've got our actual charge coils here, and I've got a couple of things on here. Make it so I get some buffs.
I don't know if I
when
like
use
that.
my charge coils, reduce the cooldown on that ability. And then inside of here, I've got my two different turret modifiers that I can do.
But
that
I've
are
played
big. There's a
games
whole bunch
before
of
that have
smaller
done
ones
that,
as
so
well
it's
that
not
change some
it's
of
not
that
like it's
behavior.
unheard of.
But these two are really big. I change a lot about how this turret functions. And so the base turret is similar to what you've seen in the movies, where it's like a heavy machine gun that's firing.
Yeah.
We've got the heavy turret, where it's more like a slow firing, the chunk kind of thing.
Yeah.
Really good at taking on big dudes. And the incinerator turret swaps that out with the flamethrower, basically. So it's short range, lights everything on fire that gets near it. It's what you want for mowing
That's
down.
pretty cool
holes.
for the turrets.
I would imagine if there are eggs and face huggers coming out of those eggs, that could be really useful.
It doesn't seem like that shot
Yes,
grenade. I don't know about
flamethrowers are very useful at dealing with
what
the
y'all are
swarms of
saying, but it
little
seems like that
guys,
shot
that's
grenade is
for
not
sure.
really slowing them down that
Technician
much.
definitely seems. There's
Doesn't
a lot
even
of
really
nuance.
seem like it bothers
What is
them
your
that much.
personal preferred loadout for a technician?
Okay.
as
So you can
people
get a submachine
later this
gun.
summer will
Good.
play Aliens Fireteam for themselves for the first time. If they're diving into the technician, what do you recommend?
So, man, that's a tough question. We have, Matt's a huge technician player as well, and so he's probably got very different opinions than I do. But I think for me, I
It
really
seems like
like
you can get
bringing
shotgun,
one of the hard-hitting
pistol,
handguns.
or submachine
so the
gun.
Kramer 50 Magnum is one of them that works really well for that. Something that lets me be pretty accurate at a medium range. And I usually bring a shotgun so that I can take guys down, take any kind of runners that get past my turret down. Then I kind of hang out near my turret. But swapping out for some
you're
of the
gonna wanna
SMGs,
defend that turret.
this one is really useful. The flechette is really useful for any time when I know I'm going to have lots of enemies that I need to be hitting rapidly instead of just getting the stragglers. So it really depends on who's coming with me on the team. If I'm playing
ran
more
right
of that
through that
support
poison.
role, I'm probably going to hang back by my turret and
Or
have
acid.
that shotgun and that hand cannon. If I'm going to be more of an aggressor because we've got other support people with me, like I'm bringing a doc alongside me, then I might be going a little more aggressive and bring a submachine gun.
Chris Matz, the lead systems and combat designer from Cold Iron Studios, thank you so much. For more on Aliens Fireteam, keep it locked to IGN all March long.
It's a pretty cool trailer. So that was the Gunner and Technician trailer. And two things. So I have one concern, and I have one thing about what I've seen that I don't really care for necessarily. So the concern is this. I mentioned it during the video a little bit. The concern is that from the way that that guy was talking, it really seems like every class is going to have two abilities. And that's all you're going to have. It seems like. I could be wrong about this, but just from what I heard, the way that they were talking about it, it seems like there's going to be two abilities. Now, those abilities are modifiable, as in, for the turret, for example, you can have your base turret, you can have the heavy turret, which is going to be good at taking out, more beefy enemies, and you can have the flamethrower turret, which is more than likely going to be more for like crowd control, setting things on fire, getting multiple enemies hurt, the most amount of enemies hurt at one time as you can. And that's cool, and I like that. But if there's only two abilities, literally, if you play that Technician, you're only going to have the turn ability, and you're going to have the shock grenade item ability. And I'll be honest, when he was throwing the shock grenade, I couldn't tell how much of a difference it was really doing on anything. I saw it hitting them, and I saw them light up with the blue lightning, but I couldn't tell if it was even hurting them really, and it didn't seem like it slowed them down that much to me. Maybe my eyes saw wrong there. That's a possibility. But on the first trailer watch through, that's just what I've noticed. But my point is that it kind of concerns me that there's only two abilities per class, because typically, especially games nowadays, you have more than two abilities. Typically, you have 5 to 6, depending on the game, obviously. But you have a couple of abilities, but you can only use so many. So that allows you the options of, you know, swapping in and out different abilities, and it kind of helps, in a sense, keep the gameplay fresh. And it also helps, as you're leveling up, new things to level up and strive to get, and new stuff that you haven't got to use because you're not at that level yet. So that kind of keeps things interesting as you're progressing through the game. And honestly, it really doesn't surprise me that much that there's only those 2 abilities. If you watch my other video that I was mentioning before earlier in this video, the thing that concerns me is the length of this. It doesn't seem like it's going to be a very long campaign at all. At least the first playthrough isn't. So the fact that there's only 2 abilities kind of makes sense whenever it's only going to be, you know, not a very long campaign. Granted, there's replayability, you know, that's what these games are for, but I haven't seen anything right now that is going to make me, that is making me like, oh yeah, it's fine. It's fine, the campaign's short, it's fine, it's going to be, the replayability is definitely going to be there. I'm definitely going to want to keep replaying through this for the, you know, for another 20 hours. I just haven't seen that yet. I'm not saying it's not there, but I just haven't seen it yet. So the ability thing has me concerned, but like I said, it doesn't really surprise me because of the length of the initial game, that there's only 2 abilities. And the only other thing that I didn't, it's not really a concern because I believe that they did it for balancing issues, so they probably kind of had to do what they did, but just from a preference standpoint, I wish that there wasn't really a, I wish they weren't tying your hands, so to speak, on what guns you can use just because you pick a certain class. It seems like they made it pretty clear that, you know, depending on what class you pick, depends on what class or types of gun you can use. They said there was 4 types of guns, and it seemed like, for example, the technician could only use 3 of those. So he could use the pistol, the shotgun, or an SMG. You know, so like, for example, you may pick a technician, and if there are snipers, I'm not sure if there's snipers in this or not, but if there's like an LMG, you know, you can't be a technician and use that LMG. You can't be a technician and use a assault rifle. You know, if you want to use an assault rifle, you can't do that. You have to pick the SMG. Like I said, I think they did that because of balancing issues. They didn't want everyone to be running around with the big, you know, light machine gun, or everyone with super powerful shotguns. So I think that's why that was done that way. It's just for me, I just don't want to be handicapped per se just because I want to play a certain class. But I understand why they may have had to do that. But, I mean, the game looks fun, honestly. I've been keeping up with it. It looks like a game that is going to be fun with friends. You know, I don't think this is going to be a game you're going to really want to play by yourself, even if they do have computer allies. I think this is a game that's going to be fun with friends, you know, something you can just throw on. You don't have to think too much. It's kind of simple in a good way that when you sit down, you just start playing and you're just going to have fun. So hopefully it ends up being good. Hopefully it's got enough replayability that it is replayable for, you know, 15 to 20 hours, and that whatever price tag they put on it, which I'm assuming is going to be $60, let's just be honest, that is worth the value there. So that's all that we can hope for. But I guess that's going to be it for me. If you hung in there this long, I want to thank you for hanging in there and watching the video. And I'll see you guys on the next one.
Maybe I'm a little young, but you don't know what I've become.